Being 6 o'clock, I'll call the Marathon County Board of Supervisors to order. Please, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing following the Pledge of Allegiance. Will be a silent moment of reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will have the reading of the notice, please.
The adjourned annual meeting of the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, composed of 38 members, will convene at the Marathon County Courthouse Assembly Room, 500 4th Street, Wausau, on Tuesday, March 25th, and the agenda was duly signed and posted.
Thank you. And I'd like to request everyone, please silence your cell phones and any other electronic devices as to not to be an interruption to the meeting. And I thank you for your indulgence. We'll move on to roll call, and I'd ask all the supervisors, please sign in. All right, thank you. And I'd like to welcome all of the visitors that we have with us this evening, including our viewing audience. And I thank you for your interest in county government. And we will move on to educational presentations and or reports. And any announcements and or reports by standing committee chairs? Any standing committee chair reports? Okay, we will then move on to consent agenda, items C8 through items C13D2. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Drabek, seconded by Supervisor Zhang. Supervisor Sandulski, please.
Yeah, can I get 12A1 pulled for a separate vote?
12A1, the Human Resources, Finance, and Property Committee, the revision to Chapter 3 of the Marathon County ordinances related to cooperative purchasing? Yep. Is that the one? Yeah. All right, that one is pulled. And it takes the clerk a little bit of time to enter it into open meetings. All right. Any discussion on the remaining consent agenda items? Items C8 through items C13D2, excluding item 12A1. Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Supervisor Langenhan, please. Aye. Thank you. She's here. Supervisor Arstead, you're not voting. You want to provide your response?
Yes.
Aye. Thank you. And we'll proceed. And the motion is carried and is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on now to item 12A from Human Resources, Finance, and Property Committee, item 12A1, a revision to Chapter 3 of the Marathon County Code of Ordinances related to cooperative purchasing, 0-13-25. Motion by Supervisor Robinson and seconded by Supervisor Marash. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to proceed to vote. Supervisor Langenhan. Supervisor Langenhan, aye. Supervisor Arstead?
Aye.
Supervisor Arstead, aye. Thank you. And we'll proceed. And the motion is carried but is not unanimous. Thank you. We will move on to item E, resolutions, Environmental Resources Committee, Park Commission, and Forestry Rec Committee. A consideration of the resolution to the Wisconsin State Legislature and Governor Evers supporting the renewal of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund, Resolution 16-25. Motion by Supervisor Seifelt, seconded by Supervisor Robinson. Any discussion? I call that one, so any way that you can change that? We're going to change that, and so I'm going to remove the motion in the second. We are actually on item D14, amendments to the Marathon County Code of Ordinances for Chapter 16, Chapter 19, and Sections 2.06, 7.125, and Wausau City Parks subsection, Ordinance 12-25. They're in the meeting packet and agenda and open meetings that way. Motion by Supervisor Seifelt, second by Supervisor Rosenberg. Any discussion on that agenda item? Again, this is the amendments to the Marathon County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, Chapter 19, and Sections 2.06, 7.125, and the Wausau City Parks subsection, Ordinance 12-25. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Supervisor Langenhan? Aye. Supervisor Langenhan, aye. Supervisor Arstead?
Aye.
Supervisor Arstead, aye. Thank you. And we will proceed. And the motion is carried but is not unanimous. Thank you. And we will move on to now from the Environmental Resources Committee, Parks Commission, and Forestry and Rec Committee, a consideration of the resolution to the Wisconsin State Legislature and Governor Evers supporting the renewal of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund, Resolution 16-25. Motion by Seifelt, second by Supervisor Robinson. Any discussion? Supervisor Poole, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can't recall if I need the chair's permission to abstain or not, but I'd like to.
It doesn't require permission, but your abstention is noted.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Supervisor Langenhan. Aye. Supervisor Langenhan, aye. Supervisor Arstead.
Nay.
Supervisor Arstead is nay. And we will proceed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. But is not unanimous. Moving on to item F, Environmental Resources Committee, Human Resources, Finance and Property Committee, and the Park Commission. Item F16, a consideration of an allocation of funds for repairs to the ice arena consistent with previous direction from Park Commission relative to short-term repair strategy, Resolution 17-25. Motion by Supervisor Mask and seconded by Supervisor Poole. And Supervisor Robinson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have
a handout in front of you that was a result of action taken by the Human Resources, Finance, and Property Committee earlier this afternoon. There are a number of changes to the resolution from last Thursday that are in there. First of all, we reduced the amount of borrowing from $940 down to $690,000, deferring work on the replacement of the cooling tower and some of the other mechanical work in the building. Those may come back in future capital improvement plans, but we felt as if the $690,000 would cover the repairs necessary to get by at this point. We then did additional amendments to inserted language, a provision basically saying that this is meant to be a short-term fix. The counties when to do that, but on a long-term basis. So we were looking for the community to lead the discussions on coming up with a permanent solution, looking for a community-led discussion on that activity, hopefully engaging them in both the planning and fundraising associated with it. The funding will come from a number of sources, including within the existing capital improvement plan. There's dollars in the budget for the fence around Marathon Park on the 17th Avenue side. That will be delayed until sometime in the future. We'll take that money and put it into this project. They'll take $55,000 in both 2025 and 2026 from excess revenue from the timber sales and apply it. They'll take 24 money from the 2024 program and timber sales and apply it to this project. And they're looking at increasing user fees on a step basis that will generate $93,750 in user fees to pay for it, and with the expectation that the general fund or the reserves would loan that money and then be repaid out of those increases going forward. And then the balance would come from the general fund reserves. And that would pay for it. But what it does is it allows the ice rink to continue without the uncertainty that it had last year. It provides for the people that use it to have skin in the game. I know that Parks Director Polly has been looking at the funding for currently 71% of the building costs are covered by user fees. They've tried to do a deeper dive into what portion of the fees associated with that building are attributable to hockey and revenues, and it's closer. Hockey's actually paying approximately 93% or about a $16,000 deficit at this point, but those aren't final numbers because there's still some outstanding invoices that have not been paid, and that may change going forward. But this approach continues the ice hockey, gets the various user groups involved in it, makes a statement that the county is committed to a short-term fix, but wants the community involved in long-term funding, and uses a variety of sources to fund the improvements.
Supervisor Mask, please.
Thank you. I was unable to be here Thursday night, but this is what I would have said. I listened to all the comments when I watched the meeting on YouTube, and I have to say, my boys started hockey at age 5, and they lettered at DC Everest in high school. And hockey's usually been a boys' sport, but girls' hockey has increased in popularity over the last several decades. Case in point, our wonderful local team, the Central Wisconsin Storm Co-op, which includes players from DC Everest, Mosinee, Wausau West, and WAVE, which is Wausau Area Virtual Education. And they've won several championships. And if you paid any attention to the news this week, the Wisconsin Badger girls hockey team just won their 8th national championship in overtime under Coach Mark Johnson. Now, going back to 1980, on a Sunday morning, youth hockey practice was over, and the parents usually visited for a while after, but everybody cleared out as fast as they could get because we all went home to watch the USA Olympic hockey team play the Soviet Union in Lake Placid, and we took the gold. So there were 2 players on that team from the Badgers. One of them was Mark Johnson, the coach of the Badger women, and the other one was Bobby Suter. And Mark Johnson has been the coach of the Badger women's hockey team for 20 years and has set records with them. He also this year received his 5th Coach of the Year award. My point here is that men and women had to have a place to start somewhere to learn. And most start at ages 4 or 5. Some even start younger now. Some ice was private, some was municipal, some was county-owned, but it doesn't matter. Our county saw an opportunity to have an ice arena for youth and adults, and it was done frugally with used equipment from Eagle River, who has had hockey ice a lot longer than us. The use was so popular that we built a second sheet. Our park department has diligently maintained 2 ice sheets and the infrastructure and the used cooling tower, but now things are starting to fail. Some of you say we shouldn't be in the business of hockey and ice, which is because it's non-mandated. Then we should not be in soccer either because that is not mandated. I was on the county board and supported the soccer effort. I don't care for soccer and only go to the complex for the Hmong Festival. But that doesn't mean soccer's not important. But it's not mandated. And the county did put out that when the beginning, I think it was in 2015, $127,000, which would have been a lot more today. So the DNR approved safe use of the old Holz-Krause landfill, and in up to 15 soccer fields began use. So the economic impact from that first year was $1.6 million. And this was just for soccer. Our ice arenas have multiple user groups whose activities generate millions of dollars locally. So I represented a very rural district for approximately 15 years. And not once did anyone ever question our 2 ice arenas that were county-owned or the soccer fields. Everyone in the county, whether they're in Stratford or the town of Franzen, benefits from the sales tax. So I really ask everyone to please support allocation of funds for repairs. It will buy us time so that we can do a more permanent solution. I support the county owning our arena and always have. We need repairs now. Thank you.
Supervisor Marshall, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to make an amendment to the resolution in paragraph 6 to change the word from including community financial assistance and substitute community financial assistance with financed. And the reason I say that is that as I look to other communities, Sun Prairie, Green Bay, Rhinelander, they're all 501c3 organizations. Supporters and donors are going to want the tax write-off of giving to a 501c3 facility. I believe if we step aside, I'm confident the hockey community is going to come together and be able to get those donor funds if it's a 501c3, just like they have in successful builds in Sun Prairie, Green Bay, and Rhinelander.
So your amendment, I just want to be clear, Supervisor Marshall, is to change exactly which, I'm on item number 6 of whereas, and what are you wanting to change? Just so we can make it clear.
The last words, financial assistance
Okay,
with financed.
so taking out the words financial assistance and putting in finance?
Correct.
Okay, is there just a second, the clerk needs to put the amendment up. Okay, do you have it up? See it here. Okay, is there a second to that motion? Motion is seconded by Supervisor Marash. Any discussion on the amendment? Discussion on the amendment. Again, the amendment changes the words financial assistance to include the community finance. Supervisor Poole, please.
I would just like clarification from Corp Counsel what change this would make. Does that mean we're out of the ICE business as the county? Or, I mean, just what effects would this have substantially?
Sure. I don't see this as materially changing the county's existing position. Any decision on the long-term future of the ice arena will need to be made by the board when the board takes up that measure. This whereas clause is simply outlining the county's existing viewpoint, and I would take it as a message to the community that the county's looking for community-led financing in future discussions, but that doesn't foreclose the county from being involved in future funding. It's in a whereas clause and not in a now therefore be it resolved clause, so it's not binding the county to no funding in the future, but it is providing the community with a message.
Thank you.
Supervisor Marash, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in favor of this amendment. I think that we are in agreement as a board that the ice arena is a very positive asset for our community, and it's something that we should fix. I completely agree with that. I think that these fixes that we are proposing to do now are good, and if we can keep this going for 5 to 7 years, that would be ample time for the community to do fundraising and take over the ice business. With the user groups out there, they have more knowledge and expertise and contacts to do 12-month tournaments where they can open it up and bring more people to the area. They know the people to contact. So that's why I'm in favor of this, and I'm in favor of the community taking over the ice arena in the future and having them build the complex that they want. Thank you.
Supervisor Zhang, please.
Disregard. I think a lot of the comments have been said already. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Any further discussion on the amendment? Supervisor Hoppe, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, not on the amendment. Well, yeah, on the amendment, okay. I had a very long talk with a constituent who worked for the Parks Department.
You need to turn, Supervisor Hoppe, please turn your mic on. It needs to be green.
I'm sorry.
There you go, thank you.
I talked with one of my constituents that worked for the Park Department since 1996, and he retired about 4 years ago. And he said to me, please, no more Band-Aids. He worked on that ice arena for a number of years, and he said every time something went wrong, we just put another Band-Aid on it. And I agree. I really don't like the Band-Aid idea, and I keep thinking, so we go ahead and get the mat, and that's a Band-Aid, and we're not fixing stuff. And then are we going to wait until 3 months before the mat dies and say, oh, the mat's dying? Should we get another mat? It's like, when are we going to just step forward and say, it's time that we really think about building, but do it 2 or 3 years before we need a Band-Aid. I feel like this is going to be a knee-jerk decision. We needed to have more discussion and more time to act on this, to think about this, than to just have say 3 or 4 weeks and say, okay, now you have to make a decision. You want to spend almost $1 million for a Band-Aid again? I have to vote no for the simple reason that a Band-Aid's not going to last very long. Initially, the mats were supposed to last 10 years. The last meeting I listened to, it said 5 years. I'm not real sure where the truth lies in that. But I don't think a Band-Aid is our answer. And, maybe this will give a kick in the pants to either the community or to the board, somebody to start the plan to build a new rink. Because I think that Marathon County needs the ice rink. I think it's a great thing for the kids and the different teams. And just for the community at large. But we can't keep dumping money on Band-Aids. Thank you.
Supervisor Robinson, please.
I don't think this is a Band-Aid. I think it's an operation. And I think it's trying to buy us more time and extend the life of a facility that last year the staff did a marvelous job of fixing what some thought was unfixable and extending the life for another year. The problem is if we don't act now, that ice could go out at any time and we won't be able to replace it. And this may be a temporary solution, but it is giving life to an old facility that is, beyond its years while we look at that long-term fix. I think it's more than, it's more than a Band-Aid. It gets us a few more years and allows the community to determine what it would like and how they're going to pay for it and how they're going to engage other parties. So I would encourage you to support the resolution.
Supervisor Mask, please.
I agree with Supervisor Robinson. This isn't a Band-Aid. This is just buying us time to do things right, to get a new arena or to improve upon the arenas we already have.
Okay, to remind everybody, we're talking about the amendment first. Please, let's keep the discussion to the amendment. The amendment, again, removes the financial assistance and puts the word finance in place. Any further discussion on that amendment? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Supervisor Langenhan? Aye. Supervisor Langenhan, aye. Supervisor Arstead? Aye. Supervisor Arstead, aye. Thank you, and we'll proceed. And the motion on the amendment carries. Now to the resolution as amended. One of the things that I was concerned of, and I mentioned this the other night, that the user groups had to have some buy-in to this. I think one of the things that came out of HR Finance and emphasizing the increases in funding that are going to be asked of those user groups is clear. I think that this does buy us some time to have the overall conversation with the community as to what a future, if any, the county has in the facility long-term. I think it is not prudent right now to say to the user groups, so we're just going to not be in the ice business, at least for the period of time. We've gone out and done a study. We haven't gotten the numbers back yet. We've got some rough numbers on the study on what a new facility would cost, but there hasn't been discussions with those user groups yet as to what amount we're looking for them to finance. And so I think this does buy us some time to do that. So I would be in support of this resolution. So Vice Chair Dickinson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was simply going to say thank you to the members of the HR Finance Committee, Parks Director Pauly, Finance Director Fenske, and others in listening to the board discussion on Thursday and resolving many of the issues that were brought up. I believe the good people of Stratford Cleveland, Eau Plaine, McMillan, and Brighton, who I represent, no matter how much they may use or not use the facility, would support the measure as a reasonable action to ensure all of our county citizens have a place to skate. Thank you.
Supervisor Rosenberg, please.
Yeah, I'm interested if anybody could tell me what the 130,000 for fence repairs, what does that encompass? What's going on with the fence?
So the Parks Director, is there any objection to the Parks Director answering the question? Jamie, please.
Thank you. The 130,000, that is what was funded for year one of a 3-year replacement of the wrought iron fence around Marathon Park. So if you look at the fence, it's starting to corrode, especially very bad along 17th Avenue from the ice or from the salt. So that was the initial plan, is to start with 17th Avenue and replace that fence, and then in the next 2 years, replace the rest of the fence that's needed. So what this will do is it will just postpone any repairs to that fence in the large scheme, which we were going to do in a large section. If we do have a section fail, then we'll just replace that section within our current budget, like we did last year when a car ran into a section, we replaced that. So this will come back as a capital improvement request, just postpone a year.
So that's not damage to the fence, that's weathering or aging out?
Correct. It's just, yeah.
Thank you.
Supervisor Seibert, please.
Thank you, Chairman Gibbs. I have several things. One is, I've had several calls, some for, some against. And those that were for, I said, you have to make an impression on the county board and get hockey players at this meeting. Where are they? This place should have been full of pee-wee hockey players, high school hockey players. Aren't they interested? I mean, don't they care if we have it or not? That's my first thing. The next thing is the user. Is there a breakdown of the percentage of users from the school system or from the private or from the public system? Do we have those numbers? Could she answer that?
Unless there's objection. Parks Director Polly, please.
Thank you. Yes, we broke down all of the users by the number of hours that they do at the arena. I don't have them all told for specific, just school district and public, but of the 2,207 hours that we sold this last year, our high school teams took up 289 hours plus one more. Where's my storm one? Here. Another 88.75 hours, so roughly, 366 hours by the high schools. Youth hockey took up 941, and that's just youth hockey organization. Figure skating is 81 hours. And then we have numerous adult leagues and outside users. Even Chippewa Falls High School comes for 3.5 hours. Cyclones of that are 292 hours. So it breaks it down quite a bit, and I can send this information out. I believe Corp Counsel Bruner has it as well, that has the breakdown and the number of dollars amount per each of those hours.
Thank you. And my third one is probably for the board up there. Do we subsidize any other things like this in Marathon County? I mean, do we subsidize DC Everest, Mosinee, any other hockey arenas in Marathon County? Or any sports arenas as far as that goes in Marathon County?
I think in sports arenas, we would have to say yes. The soccer complex is subsidized and utilized by multiple user groups, including high schools. I think the other thing, when you look at the breakdown, youth hockey is youth from throughout the county, and they're using 941 hours. So when the high schools, yes, they're using a percentage of it, but I wasn't aware that the youth hockey is as large a user group as it is. But it is 941 hours, and then the high schools is a much lower number in the use. But I would say in several programs, we do subsidize various sports complexes throughout the county.
Thank you.
Supervisor Zhang, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to use the opportunity to thank the staff, the HR Finance Committee, and all those involved for putting together a resolution that echoes the concerns of the County Board Supervisors. Over the last couple of days, I had a constituent that reached out concerned about having this ice arena because they expressed that because they're being, with DC Iris having one, there shouldn't be a need for another ice arena. But I did my research, reached out to DC Iris, asked them a little bit about how busy their ice arena is used. They expressed to me that from October all the way until February, and sometimes maybe even March, their ice arena is booked from 3 to 9 Monday through Friday, and on weekends from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. My discussions with them as well too is that they cannot handle additional individuals coming to their ice arena. So to me, I definitely see that this resolution helps continue attracting folks to the local area here. Helps our youth grows, helps provide opportunities for individuals, but it also gives an opportunity for us to get our community partners involved. I mean, we have the Marathon County Wausau Parks Foundation that could potentially lead fundraising efforts as well, just like what DC Everest did with their DC Everest Education Foundation, where they're leading the efforts as well. So I think it's an opportunity, and I think it's good that we are having these conversations about moving forward and about long-term planning, and we can work with our local communities and partners and organizations to ensure that this continues moving forward. So I will be voting in support of this resolution. Thank you.
Supervisor Poole, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to speak in support of this resolution as well. Part of my background, some of you may know, some of you may not, but I have 6 younger brothers. And yes, we all played hockey here, youth hockey here in Wausau. We all skated for Wausau West. In fact, there's a 20-year period between 1980 and the year 2000, I think with just one small gap, at least one of us was skating for the West team. And as a kicker, my dad volunteered as a team doctor for that 20-year span too. So I guess you could say I come from a hockey family and I'm familiar with the rink. As Al said last week, though, not nearly as familiar as Al is with the rink. He was certainly almost omnipresent there. I remember him well as part of the community. And it really was just good memories and a good experience. But I'm not asking you to vote because I like hockey. It's a big number to ask for this repair, but there's also big benefits. Some of the financial benefits were already talked about. It's hard to look at because it's not just coming back to the county, but it is dispersed throughout the county and various people coming in from other towns, what they buy and so forth. But also, if you look at quality of life, we want to make this the best county to live in, and that means making sure that we have things people want to do that attracts people and wants to keep them there. And especially for kids, kids, especially since the pandemic, you look where they are, so much screen time they have, feeling more isolated, lonely. And the associated mental health issues with that. This is one thing, it's certainly not everything, but it does give people an alternative, something to do. The physical fitness is there, but being part of the team and working together, working towards a goal, making friends, and also family involvement. Invariably, families are involved in this too. So it helps strengthen families and it helps strengthen our counties. I would also point out that This isn't a new program, so we're not expanding the scope of county government. This is repairs on a facility for a service we already have. In my mind, it's much like, at the UW, we need new boilers because, they're getting old. We paid for them because it has value to the community. Dells of the Eau Claire County Park, when regulations changed and we needed a new mound system and a dumping station, we paid for that because it has value to the community too. And this hockey rink has, I think, an immense value to the county as well. It doesn't mean we have to, continue in the future with this. The future of ICE is certainly a discussion we can have. But for that, we should certainly afford a long exit ramp for our, users in this. We just do not want to do a snap thing, 6 months before, the season starts. It would be unimaginable if we just rolled the dice on this and found out that we weren't going to be able to produce ice next year, and it ruined seasons for youth hockey, high school, all those involved. Again, I just don't see doing that. And also, I understand the heartburn people have with this. We talked about it last week. It's a big cost, and the burden sharing, everything coming back to the county, without the user groups getting involved, and the benefits, not everybody in the county, not every area in the county benefits from it as well. But I think, as others have said, this resolution, the changes do a lot to address that. Making it lower costs and broader cost sharing. So I think, I know it's a big cost, but I think there's a big benefit that, justifies doing this. So my vote is yes on this, and I'd urge the rest of the supervisors here to vote yes as well.
Supervisor Hoppe, please.
I forgot to mention one other thing, and that would be that I spoke to a group last Monday night about this very subject, and without inputting my own opinion into it, I would say 75% of the people said, get the booster clubs involved, get the community involved, and they will pay for it. They will pay every dime of it because they want this. One other thing that I was told is by a lady that follows her grandson all over the state for hockey tournaments and for games. And she said, I just as soon they bulldoze it and build a new one, because the condition and the parking lot of our ice arena is disgraceful. She said, it's an eyesore. She said, granted, the kids can skate there, but compared to every other ice arena she's been to, she said, this is in deplorable condition, and she's embarrassed for other groups to come here and skate just because of that. For what it's worth, just passing it on. Thank you.
Supervisor Sandalski, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I changed my mind. I'm going to support it now because with the amendment, it seems like it's a direction to go towards more community support. And with the stuff the Parks Department did here, it'd be less off the general fund in that. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion on the resolution as amended? Okay, we will proceed to vote. Supervisor Langenhan. Aye. Supervisor Langenhan, aye. Supervisor Arstead. Aye. Supervisor Arstead, aye. Thank you, and we will proceed. Yep, Supervisor Seibert, aye. Thank you. Thank you. And now we'll proceed. And the motion is carried, but is not unanimous. Thank you. We are down to items, announcements, and/or requests. I do have a couple of announcements. Immediately following this meeting at the Grand Theater, again, will be a showing of Americans with No Address. Again, that will be airing at 7:30 at the Grand Theater. There is no charge. Also, to everyone, I would like to make the announcement that your mileage reimbursement requests are due by April 15th for the first quarter that run through March 31st. So, and Supervisor Radke, please.
Yeah, you guys all have this handout here. Every year, the North Central Wisconsin Labor Council and the Portage Labor Council and other local unions around, we put on this U.S. Labor Then and Now. One year we have the event held at the UW Stevens Point and Point, and the next year we have it at the UW Stevens Point and Wausau. This year will be at the Wausau campus. Yeah, it's from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. this Saturday, and we have Dr. Michael Childers there. He'll be the professor, and there's a list of the movies, and there's a free lunch provided by the building trades. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, any other announcements and/or requests? Then we are down to the infamous one. Who wishes to make the motion? Motion by Supervisor Kroll and seconded by Supervisor Marash to adjourn. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.